Hello and welcome back to Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets. I'm your host, DJ Mitchell, again, here to cover the 14 game Tuesday slate. I know you're thinking this is going to be a marathon, so I'm going to try to keep it concise. I'm doing two shows on this exact same slate. Doing this one right here on Mayo Media Network for Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets. We'll also have a Morning Skate podcast that's going to be very focused on daily fantasy. So I'm not going to double dip on the daily fantasy stuff because we're going to go really, really in depth on daily fantasy. I'll do a very quick betting corner still on that one. But I'm not going to waste a lot of time running through all the nuances of DFS on this podcast for that reason. If you want to DM me with any questions, because you don't want to listen to both of them, that's an awful lot of me all in one sitting. I understand, go right ahead, but I'm not going to waste a lot of extra time on this shows for our editor's sake. I'm going to get right into this one. If you're seeing me, of course, I said I'm doing 3 shows this week and I don't have my jerseys with me. I'm in a whole new location, but I'm wearing my Charging Buffalo hoodie. If you're a fan of the Charging Buffalo, or if you go on to there at all, we have a lot of good Sabre stuff there. So I thought I'd support something that I do a little bit of betting and talk with as well. I'm going to continue to work with them and hopefully do more in the future. But today we are focused on a Sabres game coming up, but we're going to just get into all 14 games, a lot to cover. I'm not going to go into amazing depth on every single one of these games. I'm going to hit the major highlights and I'm going to get into what I'll be taking for sure, probably 5 or 6 of my favorite bets. So the first game on the slate is Carolina at the New York Rangers. Now, the Rangers will be returning Kakko Kaapo. It's almost definite. I guess we can't be 1,000% positive, but he did practice with the team in full on Monday. So I'd be shocked if he wasn't in the lineup for the Rangers. I mean, is that a huge addition? It doesn't really change that much in my opinion. It might make the second power play a little bit better, I guess, to the point of, not considering a stack, but, him and Lafreniere with, a guy like Andrew Kopp, et cetera. I don't think it's egregious to think that you couldn't get a cheaper stack in, maybe in the right matchup, but this just isn't the right matchup. As far as over the last 10, which teams are limiting chances the most by a substantial margin, the Hurricanes and the Rangers are both limiting teams' shots over the last 10 over the entire league by a lot. So per 60, the Hurricanes are averaging 41.1. So over the course of 60 minutes, but 41 shot attempts, not on net. I mean, normally not nearly all of them get on net, as we learned when we take our shot on goal props. 41 attempts, which is only about 1 shot attempt less per 60 over the last 10 as the Rangers. The next team is the Bruins at almost 7 more shot attempts per game on average against. So these two teams are limiting at an unbelievable rate comparatively to the rest of the field, and they're playing against each other. For that reason, this game's a full fade for me on DFS. The under 5.5 will make my portfolio in general, but I'm not going to be sticking with a ton of crazy leg parlays because there is a lot of skill in this game. I think as a straight bet, it's pretty strong. As a 1, 2, 3 punch, it's really strong. I assume we'll see Shesterkin and Anderson. They're both good goalies. I don't know that right now that we'll see that though, but it should be. I would be shocked if the Rangers at least didn't put Shesterkin in that. So I do think it's a really strong bet. Carolina scored 5 against Anaheim in a game that I love the over in, just because I thought if the Ducks could find a little bit of offense, which, on Sunday, I don't know. This doesn't really matter why I got into that bet right now, but this game really does profile to be absolute under. I think, like I said, I don't like to put under 5.5 with like 8 leg parlays because goalies are voodoo, and I don't like their variance as much and over-unders in general in parlays. I like props more because they seem more predictable in some capacity, and straight bets or money lines, I guess. If you feel really good on a few legs, I trust that a little bit more, that entire team, rather than really the over-unders, which often come down to goalie play in the end. Like, I like to pick ones which I think will have the most volume. I'm already going too long on this game. There's dogs barking in the background, so I'm going to move forward. This is only under in this one. I don't even have any interest in any props except for maybe an under somewhere, but I don't know. But we'll go over to the Blues and the Bruins. So the Bruins, the problem with this game is we just don't know. They didn't practice on Monday. They haven't had Pastrnak or Lindholm in the lineup, and that obviously absolutely crippled them. They're 0-16 on the power play since Pasternak's been hurt. So it really is hard to bet on the Bruins and feel good about it. It's really hard to bet on any other props and feel good about it. In that game against Washington, Grzelcyk only had 3 minutes because of an injury. Again, we don't really know on him either. That put, McAvoy at 28 minutes, Riley at 22 minutes. So yeah, in a game which I already kind of alluding to by saying the number 3 team at limiting opportunities was the Bruins. Blues are 15th, so you got two pretty good defensive teams here, as well as two teams that aren't really blowing the doors off as far as shot attempts themselves. The Bruins are, so as far as Corsi for or shot attempts on net, I think the Bruins are somewhere. I think these are right near the middle. I don't know. I don't want to take forever here. That actually the Bruins are doing real well. They're third to the top. Getting unlucky, I guess. Just not finding the goals. Either way, the Blues are sixth to last as far as shot attempts per 60. This game just really doesn't profile to be super high scoring. Based off those very arbitrary numbers, and again, only a 10-game sample size, you could have a couple outliers in there that are really forcing this. So I need to look into more about anything here, but I'm not really interested in any side here at all. I am minus 150 on the Bruins at home. If they have Pastrnak and Lindholm back, I think that's just fine. But with, without them, they're just not the same team. They didn't look great against the Capitals. It felt like the Capitals were the better team all game long watching it. I know the expected goals kind of show a different story, pretty much an even game, but I really didn't see it myself. Once that top came off the ice, it didn't feel good at all for the Boston Bruins. So I think I'm just going to fold this game in general. Don't really feel strong on either side. So we'll move over to game number 3, which is the Anaheim Ducks at the Florida Panthers. This is just a monster favorite Florida Panthers team. Minus 450 right now. I can't imagine it moves much in either direction at home. At full fade, and I have no interest in this game at all. I know Florida's still kind of fighting for that first position. So maybe you think, well, this team is much better than Anaheim, and the metrics, that I'm kind of using right now. I don't want to, just read off numbers the whole time, but Florida is number 1 in Corsi for per 60 on the year. In the last 10, they shoot the most. So, it's one of those things where that's why we bet the over on them often. I kind of look at Ducks as a team that kind of overperforms your expectation with Terry, with Zegras. I like the return of Getzlaf to the lineup. He's more of a shutdown guy at this point. I kind of just think this game's a full fade. Again, there's so many options on this slate. I do think that there's a good prop value here. And I do think that that's going to come in on some Florida shot props rather than anything else. Maybe a point prop in there. Giroux's been one that I've just been kind of teeing up, and including into different mixes with varying amounts of success. It's not perfect, but his power play role has been really strong. They have been playing a little bit of Russian roulette with us as far as what the power play is. I mentioned, I think it was on a live stream or something, but they went to Mackenzie Weegar in that Toronto game on the top power play. They scored 3 goals, so I assumed probably play him again on the power play, and they just didn't. They went back to 5 forwards. So I really do think that 5 forwards is their preferred mentality at all times, and for that reason, if you're going to give me all of your usage with a guy like Huberdeau, I'm in on it. Now, in the last game for Florida, they did change the lines of a Huberdeau with Barkov for some capacity in the game. So I'm going to need to see the warm-up lines before I really hammer it home. If we get off with Huberdeau, that might be something where you really look at a 2-point prop build with both of them. Say that they both get 2 points because, well, they're some of the 2 of the best players in the league. So, I think that this is more prop specific. And it's really going to come down to what the lines are. They normally run a morning skate. So if I see that on Tuesday, that's when I'm going to start placing prop bets here. I don't think there's really, and for all the shots that Florida takes, you might be thinking, well, the problem is it's pretty spread out. There's not one guy like, blowing the doors absolutely off everyone else as far as shot volume is concerned. Giroux is always kind of peaking up there a little bit. Barkov even more now. So I might look at Barkov and Giroux as 2 of my favorites, and then maybe go from there. Bennett's been a little bit weaker, but with Giroux and Verhaeghe, I don't know. It's gonna be. I really got to see what the lines are tomorrow because, like I'm saying, I'm looking at the last game. I don't know why they made the change or when they made the change, but Huberdeau from Barkov was at 5-on-5, and that's because they did put them with Duclair. That could put Duclair, Barkov, and Huberdeau as a top DFS stack. But other than that, I'm not really interested in betting this game in general. I'm going to be looking at the props, and I'll include one in my mix tomorrow. It's going to be from Florida. So we'll move on to the next game. Welcome to the NHL Empower. As a Sabres fan, I'm really excited to see it. He's, a Greater Toronto area kid getting his first game in Toronto, and Toronto is only second as far as large of the biggest favorite of the night. to Florida at minus 425. Now the Sabres have had their number. Actually, well, by the way, they're tied for second because there's a tie for first, but we'll get back to this. So Sabres have had their number in the past. They've beaten the past 2, maybe even 3. I'm not going to go back that far and look because who cares? This is kind of a different Sabres team that we've seen. I know there's going to be a lot of people on the Sabres plus 1.5. People, I mean, it's 9 of 10 now, over 2.5 team total for the Sabres. They're going against Calgary again. I mean, I think they probably get there. I get why you'd take that bet. I've been taking it. I didn't take it against Florida, for example. But looking at this Sabres team, eventually it's like the clock's going to strike midnight on them. They're really not getting an exorbitant amount of shots on goal. They're actually third to last over the last 10 in Corsi for 4 per 60. The Maple Leafs are a surprising 7th best at limiting shot attempts. Now Muzzin isn't supposed to play in this one. They're losing Andre Kasha, who I'd say is a pretty good defensive player in theory because he's just very good at moving the puck with his skates. So I don't know if this is something where I'm going to be overly bullish on saying the Sabres. I think Owen Power will be an incredibly valuable addition to this team, but in his first game, is he going to make that much of an impact? I kind of doubt it. Will I bet his to score prop? Absolutely, I will. I'm a degenerate. But I don't really think that there's a huge, strong, massive lean here in any capacity. The only thing I will definitely have in my mix is Austin Matthews shot prop. I mean, he just keeps hitting it. It's been at 3.5 for like a week. I hope it's at 4.5 because I think he'll hit it again. The guy's averaging almost 9 shot attempts per game. And with his skill, I think he's likely to get 5 on net again against as I'm already saying, not very great Buffalo Sabres team that really isn't doing much well other than playing okay defensively. So maybe you could talk yourself out of it because of that, but it's not like it's so good defensively that they scare me. It's just that they've had a couple pretty good defensive games against Chicago and Winnipeg in the mix. So I'm not really going to buy it here. They're 10th right now, at 10th best, if you will, in not allowing shot attempts. But I think this Toronto team could be a little bit better than Chicago, Winnipeg. I think they have an Ottawa and Montreal in there. So now that was when they were way up high, and then they played Florida, Carolina, Florida, or Tampa. That brought it back down a bit. And I think it's going to continue to trend down as they're going to continue to trend down, playing better teams as the schedule dictates. So I'm really high on Toronto here is what I'm getting at. And I just don't want to lay the price on Toronto for any reason. It's a full fade in that capacity, but there should be a lot of props on the Toronto side that I'd be interested in. But we'll move over to Philadelphia at Washington. Washington's been playing very, very well over the past few games. They just beat Boston. Is it 3 in a row for them now? I'll take a look quick, but they've won a few. They've kind of taken that stink off where everyone was saying, this team is just not really, not really a big deal. Like, we're not really worried about, this team in the playoffs. And, I really do think these guys hear it. They know it. So I really do think this is going to be a continued motivated Washington Capitals team that just played a very sound game against Boston. As I said, watched a lot of it. I think they were just a better team. Now they go against a very bad Philadelphia team. They're at home. Minus 265 feels like a decent parlay piece to put with stuff. Philadelphia does bring in Bobby Brink, who will be playing with Lawton and Konechny. Bobby Brink might be a guy to consider as a goal prop, depending on what the price is, just because he does actually profile to be a pretty prolific shooter. One of the better point per game players in college hockey in, over the year, and I assume career as well. I think that adds a little bit of juice. Ronnie added as well. I think this Flyers team could be a little bit more fun in general. Carter Hart will be a net. So it's not like it's like a slam dunk Washington play, whereas it's an absolute, like, any parlay you're building type of thing. But I think at minus 265, it's not terrible compared to other prices that I just named. Like, is Toronto, like 100 and I don't even know. I mean, I can do the math in my head of what the odds are implying, but the odds are implying that Toronto's almost insanely more likely to beat Buffalo than Washington is to beat the Flyers. And that just doesn't really jive with me. I think that, these are both pretty even. That's why, if Toronto's at minus 265, I jam it myself. I think this Washington's been playing, a much better team, as a much better team as of late. They've gotten healthier. They didn't have Backstrom against Boston. He could be back here. We just don't know yet. So keep an eye out for that. But this game doesn't really, do much for me outside of there could be some value in DFS. I mean, there's really not any one prop that I think is infinitely better than the others. I got to see what the lines are on these point props for the Washington Capitals because I might be interested a little bit more. OV over 3.5 shots, that's going to be a lock for me if it's there. If it's 4.5, it's going to get a little tricky. That extra shot is always tough, but I might go with it. If you watched the end of that game, that empty netter, it was like, man, did they want to get it to him? They had like 2 chances and like didn't do it just to try to pass it to him to get that last empty net goal. He had 5 shots on goal, 1 get blocked and 1 missed the net against Boston. I just think he's shooting on purpose. I mean, they're making the playoffs and there's almost a 0% chance they miss now. It's really all about Ovi at this point. The season of Ovechkin for them, I really do think he'll be firing here. So I'm going to go with it. The math likes it as well. Over the last 10, he's averaging, let's look where it's right here, 6.8 shot attempts per game. So over 4 seems real strong. Over 5, 5 or more is a little bit tough. You're really on the side of variance at this point, whereas Austin Matthews is 8.6, kind of exact reverse of the 6.8. He's over 4.5. I think he's almost getting 9. So, rather than almost getting 7, it makes a little more sense with, defensemen just being a lot better now, blocking shots, getting 6 in the way. So that's the easy best prop here. Point prop, Kuznetsov fits in real nicely. He's just a really good player. And Carlson, I've been jamming a bit more. He just kind of turned it on as of late and has been super involved offensively. So we will move over. I got so many tabs open. My God. So yeah, and that's it. Bobby Brink, I already brought him up. Just brand new player. Make sure he's in, but he should be in. And if he's in, I'm not saying it's like this guy's gonna score the first game or anything. You never know when they're gonna do it. But if you bet him the first 3-4 nights and he scores once, you're probably making money because it's gonna be like plus 450, something like that. That's gonna be a good range. The next game has one of my favorite bets of the night for sure. Right now, Pittsburgh's minus 125 at the Islanders. I know the Islanders have been playing better lately as far as like just winning games. And it's like a raw, I guess, thing that they've done is just like not been terrible. But yeah, this Islanders team is just not very good. They don't really do much well. I mean, Corsi against for 60 over the last 10, 4th to last, almost tied with Arizona now, which isn't good. Corsi 4 per 60, dead last. So they're giving up the 4th most shot attempts and they're putting the least, and then include Arizona, who's now not the worst at getting pucks on net. And they're playing a team that's really good in Pittsburgh. I don't get this line. I get it's on the road. And I get that the Islanders have, been trending, at least by winning games, in the right direction. I understand how good Ilya Sorokin's been. So yeah, do I think you absolutely have to bet this one? No, it's not like it's a mortal lock by any capacity. They beat the Devils 4-3, Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. And over the last 5, and they got smoked by the Blues. They got murdered by the Stars, only lost 3-2 in the last few, and they beat the Hurricanes on a wild kind of Friday. Yeah, the Hurricanes just got 1 shot on goal in the second. They just didn't show up. I mean, that's the one kind of outlier game in the mix. They got torched in the other, 2 of the last 3. Now, I'm betting the Penguins here. Crosby's back. All the guys are back. Yeah, really don't have to overthink this one. The over-under is a full fade from me. Islanders aren't shooting enough, and they have Sorokin in net. Kind of feels like an under bet, but I might not touch it. We'll move. Keep this going. I'm definitely going to go way longer than I wanted to. Ottawa at Detroit. I'm betting Ottawa here. Just start by saying that. I think Detroit is really bad. They're bad defensively, and they're also bad offensively. So I don't really see a lot on Detroit that I like in general outside of the top line. I do think that you could convince me in DFS, even though I'm already saying I like Ottawa to win this game in general. I think you could convince me in DFS to bet on a lineup that includes all of Detroit 1, if they're all correlated for sure, which I believe should be the case. Let me just look at their last game. Yeah, it was Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Raymond. Holy crap, they gave up 4 goals on the ice together against Columbus. Yikes, not good for them. But this Ottawa team, I just think is a good clip better. They actually pretty badly outplayed Winnipeg. Expected goals were 4.2 to 2.7. It kind of got hellebucked in a sense. I mean, they got that late lucky goal that Brady chucked out of the air, maybe over the net, but helped me in DFS, so I'm not going to complain. But Stützle, Brady, and Norris, I think, are a much more optimal stack. They were correlated for most of that game at 5-on-5. Joseph kind of came off for a good bit. So I'm sort of going that capacity. I don't know if Stützle's going to land there for good. Maybe late in the game they went with it, but I'm of the mindset, we didn't have what's his name? Oh my God. Batherson didn't play in the last game, so keep an eye on if he returns. He might get right back into Matthew Joseph's spot. But Norris, Brady, and Stützle, I think, is a really, really good DFS stack that I'm going to have. It does eat two of your center spots, but I really do think there's more value on the wing. And I know I said I was going to talk about DFS, but that in general, and for that reason, also all the props with all of them. So yes, in the game against Winnipeg, I don't even want to guess how many shot attempts those three had. It has to be 60. Stützle had, I'm just going to, oh my God, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on net, 3 get blocked, and 2 miss the net. So 12 for Stützle. Brady had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on net, 1 get blocked. So 9 for Brady. And Norris had 1, 2, 3, 4 on net, 2 miss, and 3 blocks. So they had 100 shot attempts for the 3 of them. That just, to me, screams like, I got to get these guys in. So that's going to probably be one of my prop stacks in general. I already alluded to, man, did that line for the, again, Larkin, Raymond, and Bertuzzi on the ice for 4 goals against Columbus. Not good. And I don't trust any of their lines after that to play defense at all. They just really don't do that. So I like Ottawa here to win on the road plus 105. I should probably say the line here. I included that in my mix of my best bets. And the over seems good, but I'm just not going to touch it till I know the goalies. Next, we have the Sharks at San Jose. Oh my God, the Sharks are from San Jose. They're going to Nashville to play the Predators. Kind of a full fade for me, but I do understand wanting to take, the under here. The Sharks have been a bit better defensively. The goaltending's been okay, and Nashville should have Saros, but there's really no interest in this game at all for me, other than Timo Meyer's shot prop, which I'm definitely going to include because Nashville's been pretty bad at limiting shot attempts while keeping goals, under the expected by a decent bit because they have to see Saros. But Corsi against for 60, they're second to last to only Montreal, who's just way in last now after Monday. They had to play Toronto a couple of times in there, so didn't help their cause. But Nashville's been just kind of getting beaten up pretty bad as far as letting a lot of shots go. So I'm going to definitely Timo Meyer shot prop here. Not a whole a heck of a lot else. I don't know if there's anything I might be missing. I'm trying to kind of find where these lines are. Oh, they're right here. But yeah, so San Jose, they won 11-7 last time, which also kind of adds even more to the Timo Meyer experience. Hurdle, Couture, and Meyer all had almost, Hurdle had 25 minutes, but that's because he kills penalties. And Couture also had 22, but he kills penalties. Timo Meyer had 19 without any penalty kill time, and they were in the box a lot. So Timo Meyer played basically every time they got out of the box. Timo Meyer was out there a lot. If you look at the 5-on-5 minutes, he just doesn't come off. Him and Barabanov played a ton. Balcer's also got a bit of a boost, so as a random guy that could score, but Barabanov wasn't on the first power play. It was Hurdle, Couture, Mayer, Carlson, and Burns, a really, really prolific power play that I think is a bit underrated. So I do think you could take a look at some of the maybe further stake Nashville props, because I don't think that I'm not like San Jose props, because I don't think Nashville is immune to giving up some goals. But it's going to be Saros and net. I don't have a lot of interest. Yossi's goal point prop has come way down. We'll see what it is here, but it's minus like 185 against Pittsburgh. If it's anywhere around there, I'm betting it every single night. Really nothing else of high interest here. We can move on to the next game. Edmonton at Minnesota. It's, also the last game, Nashville is minus 205. That's why I'm just not interested. I kind of gave you the reasons why. Seems like there's enough variance there that if a couple of lucky bounces happen, San Jose could win this game. Plus 165 for San Jose, man. Anyways, back to where I was going to. Edmonton at Minnesota. Just two teams that I think are both pretty good. Plus 125 for Edmonton. I know some just take Edmonton at plus 20 like every time. Connor McDavid's shooting a metric ton right now, so I get it. I understand wanting to bet on Edmonton. I understand wanting to bet on Connor McDavid. This team just, beat Colorado. They're a really, really good team, but Minnesota's very, very good defensively. I think that could be somewhat of a kryptonite against this Edmonton team. For all these reasons, I'm just fading it. Minus 145 for the Wild at home is just too much juice against that. I'm just not going to include in my mix. I always like Wild unders. they don't always hit. Their goaltending just can crush me. I faded it against LA, even though I liked it on Sunday because I just couldn't get there. I just didn't trust it. Thank God I did. I mean, it's really, really tough right now for me as a wild defense believer to take their over-unders. Yeah, so this is another one where it's 6.5 at, almost plus money on the under. I'm going to want it. Right now it's minus 105, so right on the edge. But my model's going to want it. I'm just going to fade it. Kind of a full fade here. I do think there'll be shot attempts in general. So I'm going to be looking at Connor McDavid and Kirill Kaprizov, maybe at Hartman, who's kind of coming to light a little bit more again. And this guy was a mortal lock it over 2.5 early in the year. Not really sure what happened. I bet his point prop all the time. I talked extensively about this on actually it was a Friday live show about, how much different it is than Kirill Kaprizov, even though they play all their minutes together. So I'll be looking at those as kind of my favorites. There's no one that I think that you need to overthink it with Edmonton with. I know I've seen people talking about Puljujarvi just not really getting points, being snake bitten. Expected goals much higher than what's actually happening. No top power play for him. He actually didn't even see second unit, but they don't really run a second unit, so whatever. I think you could look at his goal prop as it gets deeper into the into the 300s with McDavid. Kind of want to jam it then because you still see 17 minutes ice time all with Connor McDavid. Those are valuable minutes. But nothing that's jumping off the page. I've been including Tyson Barrie a bit more in my point prop mixes because he kind of pops a bit more. He's looked better with Kulak as his partner, and he plays in the top power play. But we can keep it moving. LA is one of my next favorite bets. It's minus 145 against Chicago. I just, again, Minnesota at home against Edmonton minus 145 or another playoff team, and not quite as good as Minnesota, but a team that, really took the boots to them early before letting in 6. LA, I think they're just a much better team than the Blackhawks, who have been just so bad. I mean, I don't even know what to say about them anymore. They're done. They're cooked. I haven't seen it. Much work for them as of late. They should have lost by more to Chicago. Strome, DeBrincat, Taves, and Kane get a ton of run. No interest in the Chicago team at all. LA should really be able to work them over, and I think they will. I don't have a lot of high hopes for this game in general. The over 5.5 seems decent just because LA is sort of playing more like Toronto of old, where they're really more running gun. They're trying to outchance you because they have 4 lines that just can all score. So I'd like the over here, if anything, other than the minus 145. But I think I'm just going to take the minus 145 and move on. Not really much else here. I think you need to dive too into the weeds on. The one thing that LA just continues to break my heart with is not putting Victor Arvidsson on the top power play. I just kept thinking it was going to happen because he's their best shooter and he's shooting the most, but they don't do it. And for that reason, it's really hard for me to want to include him into too many mixes. I've just been worried on Kempe shots. I'm back on it here. His point prop, I'm back on it here. Playing with Kopitar and Iafallo. I've been on Iafallo to score. He's popping a bit more in the expected goals model, or he's just not getting the luck. They're getting a little bit healthier on the point. So they got Roy back, or Wah, I'm not really sure. And, with Stetcher, Benson, Jersey, I think Eiler will return, and at some point, Drew Doughty. And I think this team's kind of going to make have a chance to make a bit of more of a run than I think people are giving them credit. Boy, we still have 4 games. My God. So moving forward, we have Seattle at Calgary. This one's going to be real quick and easy. Full fade, minus 450 for Calgary at home against Seattle. I have absolutely no interest in betting this game for anything. I'll have to find a prop. I don't even know what it's going to be at this point. Matty Beniers, expecting to make his debut. He was on the first line for Seattle, but the coach then said after Hextall was like, well, we're not sure yet. Maybe he will. It's like, oh my God, this team has just been an absolute disaster. Like, come on, play him, right? I mean, come on. So we'll see. He was with Everly and Donato. So as far as incredibly cheap DFS options, which I'll talk about in the Morning Skate podcast, yeah, maybe. But over 6 in this one, under 6 in this one. I just don't trust Seattle to score. So I like the under, if anything, here, but it's a full fade. I honestly don't think there's going to be one individual prop that jumps off the board to me. So this might be a game where I really play it safe. If we get Schwartz back in the mix, he might be a bit interesting as a shot guy, just because I don't have a lot of read shooters. So hold on, I just had the practice lines up. Let me pull that back up again. I don't think he was in there. No, so I'm not expecting him to return. He wasn't even out there in practice. But yeah, there's really just not one guy in this game. I mean, I've been going to net to Chuck with varying amounts of success I'll have to look more into the shot props tomorrow on this one, because for everything Seattle does wrong, they're not terrible at limiting shot attempts. So it's going to be really hard for me to find the perfect guy here. I might honestly look to Calgary too, just because there's just bad depth in Seattle. One of those point props, Mangiapane, Backlund, Toffoli. Toffoli gets top power play. So if he's around minus 140, he might be the good kind of mix into your, massive 14 leg parlay that I will be building and hopefully taking home, $20,000. We'll see though. But this game is definitely going to be sort of let's check it tomorrow and see, but it'll probably be a Calgary 2 guy, just because all Calgary one's going to be over 1.5. And I just don't think there's a ton of goal upside here. So we will move on. Tampa at Dallas. I didn't include this one in any mixes. It's a Dallas team at home that actually has to win. Plus 135. Tampa's been doing a little bit worse. They absolutely beat the brakes off of Buffalo. Shocker. Buffalo's been for it. I'm not going to touch it. I think if anything, I would just take Dallas for the narrative, but nothing in this game really screams value. It kind of screams under, but I have no interest in anything here. I've been betting, Dallas point guys like to get points. The whole line won. It hit against Chicago, but okay, that's hit against Chicago. I think I'll end up on one of them here. I actually had against Chicago, I had Klingberg, Robertson, Hintz, Pavelski, and Heiskanen, and they all hit. What a good time that is. Don't think I'm going to do that against Tampa. We'll see what the lines for Tampa shake out to be. If they go back to the, Stamkos, Point, Kucherov, I just, I don't know. I am really struggle to find the right thing to lay in this game, because it's not a game I like. It's not going to be a game that is going to scream a lot of expected goals. And it really, I don't know where the shots are going to definitely be coming from. So, I'm just kind of scrolling through. If there's one Tampa, the only Tampa guy that's showing up in the top 25 is Victor Hedman. That's always tough to lay a guy in the point, especially in a big parlay where you're looking for a little bit more of added cushion and safety. And there's no one showing up for Dallas. So I'll probably end up laying a point prop here. And I don't know who it's going to be, but it's definitely going to be a top player. I don't think either of these teams have guys down the lineup that I'm really necessarily interested in very involved in the offense. Looking at Dallas's last game, Hintz had the most shot attempts. He had the highest expected goals. When he gets going, he can do that. So I might be looking at him a little bit harder, but man, if Hintz ever burned me in the past, you know what I'm talking about. We'll move on to another one of my favorite bets, the night, New Jersey, minus 145 in Arizona. Arizona's still terrible. I know I said they're not the absolute stone cold worst anymore in every capacity over the last 10, but they're still incredibly bad at hockey. They don't inspire a lot of optimism as far as anything at all. I bet the Barrett Hayton goal prop a couple times. He finally hit against Vegas. They lost 6-1 though, and in a game that they didn't look good in any capacity. I don't even know how I lucked into that one, but I did. So I just have no interest here. I know New Jersey has something to play for, but this is a team that does play at least enough tempo and enough of a they have enough good players that I think it's okay. Now, the problem that I have run into with them is that Jesper Bratt, who I think should be a stone cold lock at over 2.5 shot attempts, is with Hischier and Sharangovich, who just they're both shooting enough to where it's kind of hard to take. I think Dawson Mercer might be a guy I consider for a point prop. They do have Hamilton on the top power play, so he could be in consideration for a point prop. I'm definitely going to have a New Jersey stack of props. It might end up being Bratt, Hischier, and Hamilton as the 3, Mercer, Zaka, and Hamilton would be the other. All of those 5 that I just named are power play 1. So that might be the right thing. I know Sharangovich is pretty good at getting points, but he's kind of been good at getting points because of Jack Hughes, who is out for the rest of the year. So we'll see what I land on here, but I'm very strong overall on the minus 145 for the Devils. I put that in my favorite bets along with the ones I've already said for money lines, and I'll give them really quickly at the end. As far as Arizona is concerned, like I said, Barrett Hayton's kind of the guy that's popping, if anyone. Phil Kessel actually, this is kind of crazy. In that 6-1 loss, he had 1.1 expected goals individually. That's a lot. He had 8 shots on goal and 2 missed the net. And that's classic Phil the Thrill. I think you could do worse than Phil and Hayton as a very small 2-man, ultra cheap DFS stack with how bad New Jersey is at keeping the puck out of their own net. But Boy, good luck with that. Yeah, that's I don't think I'll do it, but minus 145 for the Devils. And our final game of the night, and another one of my favorite bets, is going to be Vegas. They've just been playing so much better. I talked about their last game, but minus 130. And the main reason I laid it right now is because they really might get Mark Stone back tomorrow. It sounds like he's traveling with the team. Sounds like the play. So with Mark Stone in and Eichel, we haven't seen it before, but that makes two lines kind of, world beating. That means that most of their minutes at 5-on-5 will have Mark Stone or Jack Eichel on them. This team is now a danger, and it's why Dallas cannot lose against Tampa. Because if this team gets rolling, we might be looking at, I think it's the third last game of the year for both of these teams against each other for all the marbles. I think this Vegas team wins this one easily, minus 130 on the road. I like Vancouver okay. I don't think that they're useless. I've definitely been more in on them than I thought it would be this year, might be the right way to put it. But if they're playing against a Mark Stone led, and Eichel led team, I just don't have a lot of faith in them in general. Last game, they beat San Jose, and Pettersson, Horvat, and Miller all played 24 or 25 minutes. They didn't go to overtime because they won by 2. That's crazy. But that really was because they had, I don't know how many penalty minutes. It seems like a million. Quinn Hughes did return, which helps them. And they went 11-7. So there's enough of a, I guess what's the right condensation of minutes with them to whereas it makes them DFS relevant and point prop relevant because, they could still score some goals against Vegas. I like this game over 6, by the way. But overall, this game is going to be Vegas for me. Over 6, I do like. So I think you could bet the Vegas and over 6. Look at the point props for, Pettersson, Horvat definitely, because he's been like minus 130. And then let's see what we have in Vegas before we get crazy. If they get Stone back, that's a huge, huge addition. They already got Leonard back. This is a much better team. So favorite bets of the night, something I put together for money lines was, okay, oh boy, all the games went out of order now. Thanks. Pittsburgh, minus 125. Ottawa, plus 105. LA, minus 145. New Jersey, minus 145. And Vegas, minus 130. As far as over-unders are concerned, I really do kind of like to get to those the day of once we get more goalie news. It's kind of hard to know before then. But ones that kind of stand out right now to me are the under 5.5 in the Carolina Rangers game. I gave you a lot of reasons why. That one I went well in depth on. Philly, Washington over 6. I do like that one. Okay. I think that one could be just fine. The LA and Chicago over 5.5. That one's going to get there for me. And then the last game of the night, Vegas, Vancouver over 6. So those are kind of the games overall I'm interested in. And I'll give you all the DFS stuff on the next show. Prop wise, I post them on Twitter. I'm not going to try to make you remember them right now. I gave a lot throughout. I don't know if there's any besides Matthews, OV, and shots that I'm overly bullish on right now. I want to take a look tomorrow and kind of get a little bit more put together. And then point props will definitely, I named a lot there. So we'll get to more tomorrow. But thanks for listening, sticking through this mini marathon. This is probably way more longer than I want to go. I will talk to you again on Friday. Morningscape podcast will also drop tomorrow. And on Wednesday, I'm hoping to do another live show. So keep an eye on my Twitter feed. Talk to you soon and enjoy your 14-game Tuesday.